Less than 30 seconds now in regulation. Could this take extra time? 16 seconds. Here's Dyal. Send it up the point, J. Lalu. Call midget now, but Matt, 6 seconds, 5, Dalfan coming out. He gets around him, 2 seconds. He's got to do it quick. Choose the scores, 1 second left.
Okay, here we go. A little bit late, day late, dollar short, but we are here with the week 3 episode. Hello, Tony. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
Dead inside per usual,
Oh
but
yeah,
that
that's
just
what I meant when I said all right.
yeah, it's another day. You know, little depressing, but that's neither here nor there. So anyway, so let's jump right into it. This week, we unfortunately do not have a guest. For those who were paying attention in Discord last night, you probably saw a little bit of that discussion. But yeah, unfortunately, no guest this time around. We had 3 people in mind that we wanted for the next 3 episodes consecutively, and the first one backed out. Then the second one was busy, and then the third one was also busy. So unfortunately, we have no guests this time around. But I believe at least 2 of those 3 that we had asked will likely be on 2 of the next episodes. We do already have next week locked in, Tony. By the way, I don't think I've told you that yet, but
Nope.
next week is locked in. It was
Oh,
our the third option we discussed.
they all blend together.
Okay, all right, yeah. Well, anyway, next week is locked in, so we're
Everyone
good
in
to
the
go.
community is the same to me. Nobody, I can't differentiate anyone. They're all
Yeah,
just.
we kind of all just suck, so but that's all right. All right, so let's jump right into it. We'll go ahead through the recap of week 3 real quick. Um, then let's see what else are
Did
we
you hear
doing?
that
Team
I'm
by
apparently
team.
much louder than you?
Yeah, I tried to put the mic a little closer, so hopefully Cap, tell me if that's any better. If it's not, I'll fix it. Can't wait for my new mic. Anyway, so we'll go through week 3. We will touch on each of the individual teams and how they're performing. There are some teams that are trending in both directions, so definitely a lot to chat about there. And then we will get into some of the week 4 predictions, which as we're learning this season, my predictions are terrible. You should never ever pick what I'm picking if you want to be right. And then we'll touch briefly on the Sunday Night League, how some things are going there. I think Manitoba had their first loss this past week, so things are getting a little bit spicy for
Sad.
Payne. Yep, yep,
Not having an undefeated season
yep,
in a league where you play everyone who shows up. Sad showing.
yep. All right. So, the start of this week on Tuesday, we opened up with a 2-1 victory for New Jersey over LA. Colorado then took on Toronto and won 7-3. Boston had a 3-0 victory over LA. Toronto took a 3-2 win in OT after a illegal goal call over Seattle. Boston won 4-2 over Seattle, and then finished the night out with Colorado winning 6-5 over New Jersey. I think on the whole, those games pretty much went how I think we expected them to. Um, I didn't personally find any of those results to be too surprising. I think the one that was probably the most shocking for me was the New Jersey LA game. I figured that New Jersey probably would have taken more advantage of LA, given their recent trend of the way they've been playing. But they did a really good job shutting down Otto, like they did in the last game too. I think the last game New Jersey won 1-0 over them. So it has proven to be actually a pretty good matchup for LA, but we saw the same problems plague them that have so far this season, being unable to score. But yeah, the rest of them I think pretty much went as expected. The only one that was maybe potentially a little surprising, if it hadn't been for the illegal goal, would have been the almost Seattle victory over Toronto.
Uh,
which I'm sure you have opinions on that one.
yeah, the 2 Toronto games there. The Tuesday one specifically you're talking about, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Tuesday one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's time to get in. Is it time to get into my thoughts on that, or are we gonna wait for
Uh,
Seattle talk?
yeah, we could wait to get really in depth with it. I just if you had any general thoughts on it,
Uh,
like
that Toronto game we lost in OT. It was thought we that was one of the few games we've lost where I thought we really outplayed the other team. And watching it back, I still think that. But like, what happened was we end up losing the second game, and then finding out we have to play OT, and then it was such a way late. I think if we played the OT right away, we probably would have been able to take the momentum from the game into
yeah, and
that.
when yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, we played Toronto on Friday, and that was the worst game we played all season, I think, or one of them, besides maybe the first game against Colorado. So, like, I don't know. I think it's kind of BM for me to complain about losing there to those guys. It's not like they didn't deserve to win. I'm not trying to say that. I just thought we had a good chance, and we didn't really get it, and it's not really anybody's fault.
No,
Just
that's fair. That's entirely fair. Definitely changes your mentality coming off of a game where you thought you won, then you
yeah,
lose the following game, and then have to go back and play more of the game that you thought you won because actually you didn't. So it's definitely a difficult situation to sort of manage there. But anyway, all right, we can get more in depth with that when we actually get to Seattle and sort of cover your week as a whole, not the improvement I did. Well, you guys are improving, but not to quite the level that I think you were hoping for. And that continued with a rematch against Toronto as the first game on Friday, where you guys lost 6-3. I can tell by your reaction that was
yeah, I'm smashing stuff.
that was a fun time.
The hell was that?
However, LA got their second win of the season in the game following that as they beat Boston 5-3. Colorado and New Jersey rematched against each other as well. Another one-goal victory, 4-3 for Colorado. You guys then had a really good performance against LA, winning 6-3. Boston lost to Colorado 2-1, and then Toronto took a 3-2 victory over New Jersey, which has turned out to be a really actually competitive matchup as the final game of the day. So yeah, I think again on the whole, games weren't too surprising. The LA victory probably stands out for a lot of people, as it should, being their second win on the season, as I think they're 2-9 now. But the sort of caveat there is that Boston was missing Dalfan and Drag for that game, which are two
Yeah,
big pieces to their ability to generate offense. Obviously, Paco is their carry forward, but you need people around you to help sort of supplement the scoring, and losing those two is definitely a hit that's difficult to replace. So yeah, there was that, and then the Toronto over New Jersey game. I think I had picked New Jersey in that one, if I remember correctly, and that one did not work out for me. So Otto, what the heck, dude? I need you to score more. Anyway, any big surprises for you on Friday?
on Friday. The LA win, but like I was surprised when I saw that. I was like, oh, they won. Like they scored 5 goals and they won, and then I found out Dalf and Drag were missing, and I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, if I remember
So
correctly too, that LA game, I'm pretty sure they went up like Boston went up like 3-0
I
or
think they were
something.
yeah, I think they were up 3-0
Three
and
nothing or three
just
to one,
squandered it.
and then yeah, ended up getting scored on 6 times in a
Yeah.
row.
So I mean, like LA gets like they deserve a little credit for that one, but at the same time, it's not.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Caps
I don't think that's a
confirming three
yeah.
nothing. Yep.
Yeah,
So
that's not like a big crazy. Like if you kind of saw Boston. Well, I mean, actually, the big surprise to me is you guys only went in 2-1, and as a guy who did stats and watched that game twice because I was watching it live too, uh, that was. I was surprised by the way you guys were kind of playing them. I thought you should kind of took it to them a little more. And it didn't happen in that
yeah,
2-1.
we played a pretty bad game all around. That 2-1 victory also doesn't really demonstrate how, I guess, poorly we were playing defensively in that game too. We had a
Yeah,
lot of lapses there that were uncharacteristic of the way that we've been playing so far this season. And I think if it had been a team that was actually fielding their full starters, we would have absolutely lost that game.
Yeah.
We were not generating things offensively, and our positioning on D was less than ideal. Let's just call it that. So,
Yeah. Transition game wasn't quite there like you usually like it to be. The puck wasn't moving so smooth
yeah, a lot
and
of
all that.
a lot of just little things like that that unfortunately build up over the course of the game. So,
Yeah. So,
anyway,
I mean,
let's get right into it then and go into the individual teams. We could start with Colorado just to finish off this discussion.
okay.
Um, Let me get this up. I have a slightly better overlay of this now, so we can actually still see the rest of the score lines and everything while we do this. And we also don't look at multiple teams at once, which is nice. So, we did win both of our games on Friday, and we did win all 4 of the games this past week. So it wasn't all doom and gloom by any stretch. The Tuesday games we did have our regular full lineup for, but the Thursday, I keep doing that. The Friday
Used to
games, I'm
be.
still not used to Friday games in the LHL. The Friday games we did not have Guy on the ice for us. This was actually our first time starting cap for consecutive games. We had Marchie there as well, so everybody else was still the same there. But it was our first true test of what the lineup is going to look like for the rest of the season. And the reason why we didn't put Guy in, even though he was there, for those who may or may not know or remember, is that Guy can only play 12 games this season because he signed up at less than 50%. And he's already played 9 of those 12. So we are holding off on the other 3 games for later on in the season to sort of get him back into the flow of things as we get into the playoffs, or to play him in certain spots where we potentially might need him. So that's the current plan. We also do finally have a date for his surgery, which is unfortunately right at the start of the playoffs. So I think we get him like the first game day, and I believe that's it. I don't think we get him at all after that.
Yeah.
So
Maybe by
definitely,
some miracle, uh,
yeah,
if his arm has a miraculous healing process, which probably won't, but
yeah, because that's
he would
that's
be
the
back for
thing.
games 5, 6, and 7 in the finals.
That's the thing is we the final games of the finals are 2 weeks after his surgery, but he's going to be in a sling because it's shoulder surgery, so he won't be able to like move a mouse and operate the keyboard. It'll be one or the other. If he could get his sling off before those final 3 games of the finals, assuming we make it to that point, there is a chance he could play. But yeah, it's not looking great for the potential of Guy doing much for us in the playoffs, unfortunately.
There's
So
2 big wins in the first round, probably.
yeah, yeah, that's
That'd
the
be
hope.
huge.
That's the hope. So anyway, yeah. So Tuesday was sort of regular showing from us. We were able to still put up 7 and 6 goals respectively in both games, so pretty standard for how the season's going. But yeah, Friday was the first time that we've really been challenged, and I don't know if it is. It sounds kind of cocky to word it this way, and I feel bad wording it this way, but at the same time, I felt like those games were more a result of us not playing well rather than it was the other teams forcing us
That's
into
kind of
bad situations. And you can speak to that more having watched it twice. I mean, I played in it and watched it as well, but I want to get
yeah.
some unbiased perspective on that.
Yeah, on the Friday, so I did stats for both those games. The New Jersey Colorado game was, I mean, even though it's 4-3, it's sort of a high score, not, I don't know, not high scoring, but 7 goals is a good deal to have in a game. Um,
Average goals,
it was
like,
low shooting, it was
yeah,
plays not happening, yeah, and I think both teams had 7 shots, if my memory's right. It was
yes, we
something
both had
like that.
7.
And I don't remember the shots of the Boston Colorado game, but it wasn't absurd either.
We had like 6 or 7 in that game too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm guessing the other team had something close to it.
Yep,
It
pretty
was just,
much.
yeah, I don't know, it just wasn't. The puck wasn't really getting to the forwards, and when you guys had it, it wasn't in the best spots to get chances. But I mean, I don't know, 2 wins are 2 wins. So at the same time, a team playing probably their worst day. It wasn't even just a bad game. I would say it was kind of two bad games. The second one was a little worse, the Boston one, but it was kind of two bad games, and you still come away with 2 wins. So I don't know. I don't think it's as concerning as. I mean, it's something that needs addressed, but it's something that can most likely be improved on and fixed.
Yeah,
Especially
it's
the bar is. I mean, there's still a high bar. You win both playing bad or bad for
yeah, and that's the
your
context
team.
that matters. Is it wasn't a good day, but we still were able to like take away 2 wins from it in regulation as well. And we still played well defensively, at least in one of the 2 games. Skis still looked really good. So there were plenty of positives to take away from it, and the nice thing is with the record we've built up so far this season, we've given ourselves some margin for error if we need it as we adjust to having Cap in the lineup full time instead of having Guy. So which will change the way that we play the game. I mean, Guy is an incredibly dynamic player that it alters the way any game is played. So when you remove him from the situation, obviously, we're going to have to take a little bit of time to adjust, but fortunately we have that. I think we have a 9-point lead on second right now, which is Toronto. So we do have a little bit of time to figure things out if it takes us a little while to get it fixed. But we've been spending time together trying to address it. We watched some of the games. I think you might have been in the Discord channel for that Friday afterwards after we did the stats. I know Cap ran back through it and looked at some of the games, and then even this morning before we got on for the face-off here, we spent about an hour. Myself, Marchie, Quacky, and Cap all going through the 2 games and trying to look at the things we could do better there. So we definitely are attempting to address it quickly. We'd
Hmm.
like to maintain the same lead that we've had. So
You, uh, yeah, and that's concerning as someone not on that team. That in a day where you win both games, you don't just go, "Oh, well, we could have done that better," and move on. That there's active attempts at improving.
I mean, we want to win. So, and it starts with Cap. Cap was the one who said, let's watch the games and try to figure it out. And as much as he's definitely doing that for his own personal benefit, I think Cap knows that we all benefit from that. And the more seriously we attempt to improve, the more likely it is we'll be able to keep up our level of performance for the rest of the season. So, and that's the goal.
Yep. So yeah, good. And how was that Tuesday for you? Just smashing, just walking through.
Yeah, our second game of the night
Oh
was
yeah, that
against
was
New
the
Jersey, and we went up like 6-2 in that game, and then started kind of fucking around a little bit too much. And
yeah.
I myself played really bad in the second half of that game. I had
Yeah, but you
like
had 5 points though, so whatever.
it doesn't mean I didn't play bad. Like I still had like 3 or 4 like prime opportunities to generate an offensive scoring chance and completely flubbed those. And a lot of the goals that were scored against us came shortly after that. So even though you might not be able to say like, oh, that was your fault that that goal was scored, me fucking up the play at the start of it is what enabled the rest of the play to happen. So it definitely is something that factors in some way to the outcome of that. So we could have taken that game more seriously at the end there instead of trying to screw around and just like I don't know. Well, I don't really know what we were doing. We were just kind of having a little bit too much fun with it and let Otto score 3 times and made it a much closer game than what it probably should have been. So
Yeah,
yeah, but on the whole, yeah, like our offense was still fine. Our defense was good when we were actually playing it properly and not just leaving people open deep and stuff like that. So I'm not too worried about it, but it definitely was probably our worst week so far of the season. Of the 3 we've had, it's definitely the week that we've looked the most vulnerable. So
yeah, yeah. Teams should be looking to capitalize, and you're looking to as well. Just be strong enough to avoid that,
yeah, I
which
mean,
is probably all likelihood. You still got to stop. It's not the Quacky is doing so good.
oh,
Like
he's
I
insane.
love getting him. I love giving him shit for just like you know getting carried and whatever I'm talking. We talk to Quacky all the time,
Yep.
so it's just always love giving him shit. But he like that New Jersey game. I think he had 3 goals and like I don't know. He's doing so good. Like you
he's
stop Dyal,
disgustingly
you
good.
still got to stop Quacky,
He's
and that's just
disgustingly good.
yeah.
He's
That's still a scary team.
He's the best forward I've ever played with outside of Matt, and it's not close. So
Yeah, he's
he's
sickening.
yeah, he's insanely good, and he makes it easier for me because people have to pay attention to him as well, and I have the same effect for him. Like the fact that both of us are there on the ice together, like you said, means that there's multiple high scoring threats to deal with, and as a result, that means that the other team's defense can't collapse too hard on one player, or you're going to wind up leaving yourself completely vulnerable to the other one. So it's a lot of fun getting to play with him, and regardless of how the season goes, I'm just trying to enjoy what will probably be my last time ever playing with Quacky after
With
4
you,
seasons in a
this is
row.
like your 4th consecutive season of playing
Yeah,
with Quacky.
I mean, it's our 4th consecutive season of us being on a team together, but Quack and I have only been starting forwards together for 2 seasons. It was season 19 and
Yeah.
this one. The other ones, he was just a backup on the team. So
Well, 17 he was starting second half of that season.
yeah,
I
he
think.
was.
In the
Yeah.
playoffs, he was the starting forward.
But I don't really count those to the same extent of the
And
last
it's
2
all
seasons.
finals. All 3 result in finals in the cup win. And this 4th one is, I don't want to jinx it, but looking likely. Looking like the favorite.
I mean, I think it's safe to say we'll make the playoffs. So I'll start there, and then once you get to the playoffs, you never know what happens. Like LHL playoffs tend to get a lot tighter, as we've seen over the years. Scoring goes down by a lot when you get into the playoffs, and it becomes a lot more about your ability to play defense and how well your goalie can adapt to the situation and really step up to the plate and make some of those saves that you shouldn't expect a goalie to make. So there's going to be a lot more than just the two of us that are relevant when it comes time for playoff time. And we saw that season 19 when the two of us were together. We were both performing very well offensively during the season, scoring a lot of goals. Then we get to the playoffs and the defense isn't playing well. We don't have the goaltending, and we get completely shut down and blown out in the finals in a completely non-competitive contest. So it requires a team to win unless you're Otto and single-handedly carrying everything. But yeah.
Yeah, good old
So
Otto.
anyway, all right.
Having
I
a
think we've
amazing
covered
season.
Colorado extensively enough, and we've filleted Quacky here a good amount. So
Yeah, I've heard enough.
let's move on. Let's do Seattle next.
Oh,
Let's
great.
do
Went to
your team.
Seattle?
Yeah, we'll get our 2 teams out of the
We'll
way, and
jump right from
then we
Colorado
can
to Seattle.
then we
Okay,
can just
yeah.
start shit talking all the other teams after this,
Oh,
right?
perfect.
We
Perfect.
big
Yeah.
up R2, and then we trash specifically Kill Pessel's team.
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I see 2 of them in here.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah,
Toronto
they can go to hell.
the Toronto Rush makes up about 90% of the viewership of the Faceoff. So yeah, we have to appeal to them.
Yeah. They won't let us badmouth them or else we'll lose our sponsorship.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I should add a little thing here somewhere. Sponsored by Toronto Rush.
Yeah.
I have to say I liked KP's idea of a new podcast called Rush Hour featuring only Toronto Rush players. That was pretty clever. I'm going to be a little bit disappointed if that doesn't come to fruition here. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, we missed out on having a Rush player on this interview.
Yeah, we tried.
Oh, well.
We did try to get a player from your team, KP, and he shut us down. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
He needs to be benched. Anyway, we can get into Toronto a little bit more in a minute here. We'll do them
Yeah.
next. But so Seattle, you guys went 1-3 on the week. One of the 3 losses being in overtime, which again was a victory until a goal was taken away. So very close to being a 2-2 week for you guys. I would say on the whole, as a objective bystander here to this, it does seem like you guys are improving every single week that goes by, even if the record's not making huge jumps in improvement. It does seem like you guys are playing better and better as the season goes on.
Yeah, the big change this week is Graham's a forward now, and I'm a defenseman, and we're
Yeah.
both scoring more as a result.
So I was going to ask you about that. I know that's something that you suggested, right?
I suggested that I don't remember if I said it before the first game, but I definitely said it after because we got blasted right away, and I knew, and I think everybody knew that there were problems. It wasn't just like we played against Colorado. Of course, we were gonna, you get mercied or whatever. We got Eric, our backup goalie, or the Tuesday goalie. He was in that, and all the things that you could point to it. But I think we all knew right away there were problems, and that was my quick fix. And Crab, I think he liked the look of what he had, and he wanted to run with it. But then you get far enough without really winning any games, and it's it's a problem. So couldn't just roll with it, even if he believed in it. So we had to switch something up, and it's working better. I think we've had a few good games here. Like the one we lost against Toronto, I thought was a good game. The win against LA was a good game. The Boston loss, even that wasn't a bad game. That was like an even game that we just get a couple goals go in our way or against us. I guess it's not going in our way. It's going in their way.
One of those where a couple bounces determines the outcome of the game type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's whatever. Like so we're playing okay. I'm definitely I'm doing better on D than I was on forward. I think Crab's better forward than he is a defenseman, which is something he hasn't believed and doesn't believe or hasn't thought of for a while. But to me, he is a forward, and you want him to have the puck in the offensive zone because he's dangerous.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but at the same time, we're
that is what
we
Crab's known for, right? So
yeah. But same time, even if we're playing better, we're still not getting wins, and we're not looking great. We're getting to the point where we got to start turning some of these okay games into wins.
Yeah, or start considering trades, which this is the first team we're going to talk about that's really been heavily involved in a lot of the trade rumors. I won't get into a lot of the specifics of those since I know probably a little bit more than what some of the GMs want out in the open there. But yeah, there have been a lot of trade talks, and Seattle's been involved in them. Do you see the team actually making a trade here before the deadline? I mean, we're only 3 game days away from it
Yeah, I
now,
know.
so it's coming up quick.
I don't know. It's really weird, especially with the only playing twice a week. I think is you kind of have to wait and see, and it's a wait. Like the trade deadline is how long is that
It's about
away?
a week
Like
and
how
a
many?
half away.
We're a week and a half away,
About
but
9
there's only
days, I
3
think.
games. Yeah, you get 3 days in there, but it's like 6 games. It's pretty big. I don't know, to wait for the deadline. A team that could be, like you could lose all of them. Like I mean, I'm not saying we're gonna or it's likely. I'm just saying like it could happen, and then if you hadn't made a move, like it's too late. Or if you split the games, even, it's. I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe Crab. I feel like if he would have if he was gonna make a big move, he probably should have done it. So I think now we just gotta kind of ride this. I think the time to make a trade though would be before these next games for anybody, for any team out there who doesn't think, you don't want to wait right till the deadline. It's always weird, and somebody's going to make a decision to not trade or to make a trade, and it might not work because it's the
Yeah.
deadline.
Well,
And
that's kind of the problem. If you wait till the
yeah,
deadline, you're stuck with whatever decision you make. So there's no time to fix it if it doesn't work. So you're basically selling out for whatever that decision is, one. And two, when you trade at the deadline, if you're the team that's on the more desperate side of things that needs a trade and needs a switch, you're kind of at the mercy of the other GMs. And some of the smart GMs will know that and take advantage of that. We've seen GMs like Crab in the past do that and take advantage of those teams at the deadline that like are just desperate to make a move, and then they benefit themselves and sort of vault themselves a little bit farther ahead in terms of the championship contending. So, but I would agree. I think now is the time, basically literally this weekend or this week before the games on Friday or at latest Friday night, where you really want to be considering making a trade or really pushing for one if you're chasing one. After Friday, I think it's a little bit late to do that. So,
yeah.
but it sounds like you.
Yeah, I got some thoughts on. I feel like we should wait for a different team, which is probably very easy to guess. I got some thoughts on exactly this, but I kind of want to wait until we're
No,
talking
that makes
about
sense.
LA.
That makes sense. Yep. So
But
would you
yeah,
would you say it's likely you guys make a trade then?
I think
Or is it kind of like
yeah, but
50-50 up in the air?
honest, I don't know. I really don't know. Because we've talked to Crab and I've talked to Crab, and I get the feeling that he wants to run with this team, but uh, like I don't know how much more, even he can take of watching us lose some of these games and be
Well,
inconsistent too while we do it.
the good news for you guys is that even though you're 4-7 at the moment, you are only one game out
Yeah.
of
Well, that's
third seed,
yeah.
not just fourth seed. You're only one game out of third seed.
Yeah, I know. It's and that's sort of a thing that we look at and we're like, "Oh, wow," like we saw it on after we beat LA on Friday. Couldn't remember what day that was. The most recent one. It's Sunday currently.
Hmm.
Couldn't remember 2 days ago. Um where anyway, that happens and we're looking at it, we're like, oh hey, we're one win back. That's of third place. Like you said, it's like it's not even just there. But at the same time, I think that can be dangerous for a team that maybe should make a move. If you get in a spot where you're like, oh look, we're close, so let's not trade.
Yeah.
And then if you get blasted, you're all of a sudden you're 3 games back.
Well, that's the big thing. Yeah, because we play 2 games a night. So one bad night could mean you're 9 points back now instead of three.
Yeah,
And now, if you make a trade, it's like too late at that point, you know?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So it's like
I see what you mean.
if he's gonna make a move, he should do it now. I don't think he's gonna. I think Krebs gonna roll with it, and we're gonna have to play well and get a little lucky to make that work. And then if you have a good day, all of a sudden you're poised for you can maybe make a smaller trade. I don't know, like he doesn't have to blow it all up and try to shift his team entirely.
Yeah,
Which is I don't think so. Like he's got some pieces here. Like I think even with LA is another team where there's pieces that can work. Same with Seattle, but it's just not coming together. Maybe one or two players are shifted around on teams, then it's more balanced for them for the weaker teams.
yeah. Well,
But
because I think if you asked after the draft, if you polled the majority of people, right, and had them rank teams like what Kiwi attempted to do, I don't think Seattle or LA would have been in last. And honestly, I don't think either one of them would have been fifth. Maybe one of them squeaks into fifth, but I think for the most part, you guys probably would have ended up somewhere around 3 and 4 in terms of what people predicted for the upcoming season. So for both of you guys to be down is like not really what I think either GM expected of their team. And there's
yeah,
a reason for that because the players that you guys have on both rosters are good enough to be able to figure these situations out and play well enough to climb out of the hole that you guys are in. And I can't really blame Crab for believing in the lineup, but it's definitely the type of situation where you have to make a difficult decision whether or not it's time to make a move or you're sticking with what you got. And like you said, you guys are almost in the worst position possible for the potential of making a trade because sitting 3 points out of third but not in a playoff spot, like you said, makes it really
mm,
hard to justify it, but also not justify it. Like it's such
yeah.
a
It's such a bad spot
it's such a
this close
coin
to the
flip of a
deadline too.
situation. Yeah.
Yeah,
If we're playing one game a night, it's a little bit easier to sort of make that assessment and say like, okay, you guys lose your one game on Tuesday, now you're 6 points out, make a trade because we're
yeah,
still close enough that we can pull it back together. But yeah, if
yeah.
you
There's
go
so
down
many points
9,
on the line every single game night that
yep,
like the standings can swing in wildly different directions.
oh yeah, which we've seen. I mean, we saw Toronto in last place after the first 3 game days or 2 game days, and now they're all the way up to second. Like
Hmm.
they've made a huge swing. So we've seen it already this season. We've seen it in seasons in the past too. So it's definitely not something that's out of the realm of possibility. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So trade wise, I genuinely do not know.
I mean, that's fair. I didn't expect you to know the answer to it. It kind of felt
Yeah.
like a 50-50 situation where Crab's not the type of GM to force a trade. He's only going to take a trade if he thinks it's a clear victory for you guys. So in terms of my assessment of the situation, I think it's a coin flip. I think
Yeah.
if Crab is presented with an opportunity that looks like it's going to work really well from another team, he'll take it. But if that opportunity doesn't arise, I don't think he's the type of GM that will force a trade just for the sake of trying to switch things or switching things up.
Yeah. I wish I knew what was going on in Crab's brain so I could provide a little insight there.
Crab's a bit of a genius. He's
Yeah.
a bit of
He's a
a
bit
an
tortured
advanced,
genius.
yeah, he's an advanced intellect that we just can't understand. He just hits different, you know?
Crab
He was
just hits
just
him. Yeah.
born different.
Anyway, me and him are both looking a little better though. Position swap. That's the main takeaway. Better seasons
Yeah,
individually to salvage, so we don't look like total garbage looking back on this
yep.
season.
And as stupid as it sounds like to say with the trade deadline looming, I think this is obviously goes without saying a huge week for you guys. If you're able to put up like a 3-1 performance or a 4-0 performance, you set yourself up in very likely set yourself up in a playoff spot at the end of the week going into the trade deadline, and you're in a
Mhm.
much better position for having to handle that situation. So this is going to be a big swing week for your team, I think. And if you guys have another struggling showing like another 1 in 3 week or something like that, I think it might be the metaphorical nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I wonder if well, we were talking about it last week, and I said I didn't really know, but I would bet you Crab, uh, if the team is out of it, ends up making trades for thinking of the next season to protect somebody.
I think it'd be a good idea because I mean, you guys have what DMB that you could protect for a second. Or no, he would be protected for a first because he was picked in the second. So
Yeah,
it would be BG or Goose
and BG would
potentially.
cost a
Uh,
second, and Goose would cost a third.
Yeah, which Goose costing a third might actually be a pretty good situation if he's actually able
If
to.
yeah,
Well, yeah, it depends on his work situation going into next season, right? So,
he might. Not, I don't think he'll be able to play next season unless that changes. I
yeah.
think. Yeah, he's it's kind of tricky for him right now. Even.
hmm Which seems to be the case with a number of players. There's quite a few that I've heard that won't be able to play next season
Yeah, we're
with
gonna
like,
lose some guys. I think. Well, we'll get somebody like I think Juice might come back, and I think Guy will be ready,
yes, yep.
maybe. And
The
like,
the concern is, does that number of people coming back at least match the number of people we're losing? Because the three I know of already are Paco,
pretty
Goose,
big.
and Taze. Those are three
Yeah,
pretty big names that are like,
I think he just
top.
announced Paco's retirement for him. By the way, right
Well,
here on the Faceoff.
yeah, if you didn't know
And
that,
that's the one. That's the one that we're sure about of
yep,
those three. That one is he's gone after
yeah.
this.
Taze is having a kid, so he's going to
Yeah,
have that to deal with. So he might be able to play, but might not be anywhere near as consistent. And then Goose's work situation. So we could very well be losing all three of those, and those are three very, very skilled players at the three positions they play.
yeah. Listen,
So
Paco sucks too. It just doesn't that feel like it keeps happening every time
yeah,
Paco's like looking good? He stops.
it feels
I
like
mean this
it,
isn't like
it felt like for a long time it was kind of happening with Juice too. Like Juice kept getting
yeah
better and better, and then when Juice was finally good enough to be like the best forward in the league, we stopped having LHL seasons, and
yeah
then we bring the LHL back, and he's primed to be the best forward in the league again, and then he has mouse bug and doesn't play.
yeah.
So it feels like kind of like fucking getting blue balled here constantly with both him and Paco, but at least we're able to actually see Paco here for the first time being like the centerpiece of a team, which is
And it's working, and
it is working.
he's doing well in that
It's
role,
working
which
and
we
he's doing
all
well. Yeah.
anybody who knows him is all hoping that would happen,
Yeah.
rooting for him.
But we'll save the rest of that for the Boston discussion.
Yeah,
And for now, let's head over and we'll placate to the 90% of our viewer base on the Toronto Rush. And we'll go chat about them, who have been, as I said before, significantly improved since the very first episode we did of this, where they were coming off of a 3-loss week, and we're starting the season 0-3. And since then, they've gone 7-1. So they had a 4-0 week and a 3-1 week. A couple OT
yeah,
wins in there, and I believe an OT loss in there as well. And if that wasn't during the first 3 games, it might have been. But anyway, a couple OT wins in there. But for the most part, they've been pretty strongly outmanning the opposition in just about every game. And their only loss came against us, if I remember correctly.
yeah.
So they've looked good in just about every other game. and they've been able to play close, tight scoring games. They've been able to play more offensively oriented, high scoring ones. So it's been a mixed bag for them, and they've been able to handle the situation every time. Now, we spoke last time about the difference that having Jabba makes, and the fact that they can sort of play the style that they want to play because Jabba's there. Well, they had another week of having Jabba there for 4 games, and they go 3-1 in that week as well. So
Hmm.
it definitely seems to sort of validate the opinion that you shared about him enabling them to play the way that they want to. And the interesting part for me is that they haven't even needed him to be really involved in the offense that much. He's
Nope.
actually not been putting up a ton of points, which is not what we typically get from Jabba. Jabba is normally a very offensively oriented defenseman, usually over a point per game, getting a good number of shots and goals and assists by just the way that he plays. But he's only got 6 shots in 8 games and only has 3 goals, only 4 assists. So he's not even really having to do a lot of what you normally expect from him, which is almost nice in a way because it provides them with a situation where they don't need him to be at 100% all the time. And I think that's kind of the case with all of the players on their team and sort of speaks to the style they play, where if one of the players isn't on point for a game, they have the system and the players there to pick up the slack. Like we
Yeah.
see Owl so far has got 16 points in the season as a defenseman. It's one of the top, if not the top, at this point in time. And he's got like 1.5 points per game, which for a defenseman is really good. Typically over a point per game as a defenseman is pretty solid. So to get up to like 1.5 and have second most goals on the team says something about what they're doing. He's doing something right there. So definitely
Yeah.
have to tip the hat there. And Bert's continuing to play well. I mean, I know his save percentage has dipped a little bit since the last time we did this, but I would say on the whole, Bert is still one of the better goalies in the league, and we
Yeah, and he's
see
having
that
good
on a nightly
games.
basis. So
Yeah, if you need a goalie to win you a game, like Bert wouldn't be a bad pick. I know, like PK's having a great season, but like if you need that one win, Bert's maybe the guy you could go to.
yeah, yeah, Bert and Sully kind of they stick out in my mind over some of the other goalies, not because I think necessarily that they're better, but Bert and Sully play what I would consider to be like a flashy style of goalie where
Yeah,
they make some just absurd, ridiculous, like wild saves that just look incredible when you see it and you're like, holy fuck, how did he like get his stick over to that shit like that?
yeah,
Whereas you look at somebody like Goose or Skis or even PK, who we mentioned earlier, and those are all more like static, a little more passive goalies where they're just really good at making the saves that they need to make, if I can
yeah.
word it that way, and if that makes sense, right? They're not anywhere near as flashy, not as much flair to it, just a little bit more consistent. So two different styles of goaltending, and if you think back to it, Meadsale used to be one of those flashier goalies as well,
Hmm.
and I see a lot of his play style in what Haybert does when he's in net. So, and that's a pretty good comparison being
Yeah, one of the
compared to
best
Meadsill as a
goalies ever.
goalie. Yeah, Meadsill was an incredible goaltender, really good forward too, as it turned out, but definitely one of the best goaltenders of all time. So to be held in the same breath as him is absolutely a compliment.
Yeah. So yeah, that's as long as Bert's playing well, I think everything's gonna kind of keep going for these guys. I think, yeah. But actually, at the same time, and I saw this coming from a mile away, and I mean, you played in it, but their loss, as you touched on, you're like, oh, they went 3-1. That loss was to you guys, and it was a big loss, and I wasn't surprised by it, and for
How
them,
come you weren't surprised by it?
because I think Toronto is a lot more. I think a lot of the guys who are. I don't think people are low on them anymore, but I think people were kind of low, and they didn't know the skill that was gonna be able to overcome teams. And I think Colorado is a more skilled team. I think they're better at what Toronto, with Guy in at least, is uh is better at what Toronto's doing than Toronto. And it was just I saw it coming. I saw them getting blasted, and it happened. It wasn't a it wasn't a crazy thing. Toronto might be the second best team in the league, but something's got to give. They gotta play you guys better. I think they gotta do something different. They gotta kind of their uh, use their talent a little differently when they play you guys, which is going to be challenging. But I think maybe they can do it. But yeah, that's something. If you lose that bad to you guys, and I think that's not like oh well, we gave up 7, that won't happen again. I think if you play it again, it looks similar. I think you guys, at least the day it was played, beat them every game you play against them that night. If you play 10 times, you probably win 10 times. But that they have enough good pieces there that they can make that change. But the way they were playing, even though it works against some teams, I didn't see them being able to win a shootout with you guys.
I think the big thing there is going to be the loss of Guy for us for the rest of
Yeah,
the season. Don't
yeah,
worry,
exactly. So
we'll only play Guy against Toronto from now on. That's the elite
yeah,
strategy. But
yeah, you
but
could
yeah,
have like that. Yeah,
we're and that's not going to happen. Don't worry, Toronto. It'll only be 2 of our 3 final games. Don't worry.
have this against
But
LA.
yeah, with not having him, it's definitely going to be a lot different in the regular season games. And if we match up in the playoffs, it's very unlikely that we'd have Guy for really much of that series, if it's either in the finals or semifinals, if we end up seeing them. So I think the next 2 games we play against them, or we have Cap in, is going to be a better indicator of how that matchup will
Yeah,
go over the duration of the season than what the previous 2 are. So
yeah, it's I don't know. It's interesting losing Guy. Well, the guy too, but losing him and being able to keep that up. I don't know. It just makes me wonder. I wonder if they're thinking we need to improve against you guys still, or without Guy, because I don't know. I wouldn't rely on that. I wouldn't rely on saying, oh, they won't have Guy, so we'll beat them next time.
yeah.
I would still think about what I'm saying and try to maybe figure out exactly what you can do to stop Dial and Quacky, because I think that was the problem. I think not being able to really contain you two, which is a problem a lot of teams are having, except on Friday. And even then, I think you guys had like 5 or 6 goals between you. So
Yeah, we contained ourselves a bit more than anything else, so we definitely needed to play a bit better there. But anyway,
yeah,
the one final thing I want to talk about with Toronto here before we move on to, we'll probably do LA next, but Toronto seems to match up really well with New Jersey so far. Why do you think that
yeah.
is the case?
Oh, I don't know. Um, yeah, Otto. I don't know. I'm sure Otto ends up with all the goals against Toronto still, but like if you're winning 6-5 or you're winning 3-2 like they did on Friday, they seem to always get them. And I'm trying to think if I've seen any of those games. Maybe one. Like I don't know that I've seen New Jersey and Toronto play. So I don't know if I would be really good at commenting on that.
Yeah,
But
I'm hesitant to say that they shut down Auto because I don't think any team
yeah,
is really other than LA, honestly. None of the other teams have done a amazing
and
job
by
at
LA you mean
minimizing.
PK.
Yeah, none of the other teams have done a great job at minimizing Otto's ability to impact the game in the same way that he does normally. So I don't
Hmm.
think it's really that, and it's tough to tell, at least right now, without having sat down and watched their games a little bit more in depth, like the specific matches with New Jersey, what it is that's resulting in the victories here, because I think they've both been 1 goal games. So they have been close. It's not like New Jersey's been completely blown out or anything like that. But yeah, it's something that I really want to watch. I think that is a potentially really exciting playoff matchup and probably could be one of the best hypothetical playoff matchups that we could see. That would make a really good finals. Like that's got best of 7 written all over it for me. So I'm definitely hoping we get to see that at some point.
Yeah,
And
that'd be
I
cool.
think there's a good chance of it anyway. So, all right, let's move on to LA unless you have any other thoughts here on tour.
No, it's kind of same thoughts as last week. Change something up here. Lose some games or something. Give me something to talk about.
Yeah, you guys have won too many in your 7-1 streak here.
You're boring me.
Yeah. Which that is something that's important to note. I think a lot of people are giving Colorado a lot of credit right now, but our record over the last 8 games is the same as Toronto's. We're both 7-1. So the only
Yeah.
difference
You did beat Toronto.
The only difference so far in this season is that we won our opening games and they lost their opening games. So
Yeah.
if their first 2 nights go a little bit better and they go 2-1 or something, they're right there with us at the top and contending for first. So
Yeah. Contendering. Gotcha.
Contendering. They're gonna contender for the first
They're
place.
contendering it up right now.
I was gonna make a bad joke, but I'm not gonna make that. Make a bad joke about a particular Southern player.
Boy.
Yeah.
A good old boy.
Yeah. My wife says. Oh no.
It's fine.
No. All right, so let's get into LA. The law,
Yeah.
as it is.
Yeah.
And they have not been laying down the law. They've been
laying down.
Yeah,
all right.
they've been laying down. Yeah, that's probably a more apt description of what's been going on for LA. We've had this discussion every week so far, so it's hard to keep belaboring the same points over and over again. They did get a win this week, which is something to
Yeah.
take away from it. They're back up to 2 goals a game. They've been able to score more this week, even in the losses that they had. But I think we've started to see that, we've started to see PK come back down to earth just a little bit. He's still playing at an incredible level, but he's not like at the playing at the all-time level that he was earlier this season, and it's showing. As soon as he started not being able to maintain that unsustainable level of performance, let's just call it what it is, right?
Yeah.
They started to get blown out in some of these games. Like we saw a 6-3 loss, and it went from their constant, meme of constantly losing by 1 goal to now losing by several. I think they got shut out again, like a 3-0 win for Boston or something like that this week. I can't remember off the top of my head now. But yeah, it's improvements on one end, but the sort of slight regression here from PK is sort of resulted in a lot of it still balancing out to be roughly in the same spot as where they were before. They're still giving up way too many shots against per game, especially for a team that has the quality of defense and defensively minded forwards that they have. And they're still not generating enough shots per game.
They've fallen to the worst now after their
Yeah.
game against us.
Yeah,
Because that was a mismatch in shots from Artie. It was like something like 11-5.
Yeah, they're still really struggling to get that going, and I think a lot of it seems to come from the breakout. It feels to me like most of their offensive chances tend to come when one of their players gets like a turnover in the neutral zone or in the offensive zone, are able
Yeah.
to force something by forechecking. Then they're able to actually start getting some chances going, and that's where a lot of their goals came from this past week. But when that's not the case and they're forced to break it out to their forwards and then generate something with it, like generate their own possessions and chances, they seem to really struggle doing that. So that's continued to be a weakness for them that they unfortunately haven't been able to overcome yet. But they have been shutting down auto, so you tip the cap there. I mean, they're doing something right that the rest of us aren't. So
Yeah, doing it in losses to I don't know this team. So what I held back on talking about earlier with the trades, if it's good to just get right into
yeah,
what
go
I
for it.
think.
Let's do it.
This right now, it was last week and it still is, and I really don't like I don't know. I don't want to badmouth here, but like the time to make a trade has passed on this team, and if it hasn't passed, it needs to happen tonight. Like I don't know why they're keeping it together. Why their whole I know and it sucks. Like it really sucks being in their spot, and like they like each other and they got the guys they wanted to get, and you know things went right building the team and they got it, and I thought the team would be better, and I know they thought the team would be better, and just when they keep
Well,
losing, and
everybody did, yeah.
yeah, the win against the backups, 2 starters missing, I wouldn't put any weight into that for them. I wouldn't be like, oh, we won, because then you got dismantled by the second worst team in the league, the guys that would be in LA spot if LA didn't exist. And I think I can't wrap my head around not doing something. I like the team they have right now could get better. It could just continue to improve, and that's fine. Like I think that's what they're going for, but it's not enough. That team as is not enough at this point. There's enough of a sample now that it's not beating Colorado. It's not going to beat Toronto. It's not going to beat New Jersey. It probably,
I mean,
like I
here's
wouldn't bet on them against anybody
I mean,
right
here's
now.
the big problem that they're in now is even if they do like start playing really, really solid games and are able to come back into it and have a winning record for the rest of the season, they are currently 7 points out of being tied for last place, or sorry, for the
Hmm.
the final playoff seed. Sorry, so that's over 2 wins out of a playoff position, and they don't hold tiebreakers over anybody and are not in a position to potentially hold tiebreakers over everybody because for most teams they're down 0 and 2 or something similar to that in just about every matchup at the moment. So they're not really in a in a great position to work their way back into it, and in order for them to actually get back to a playoff spot, they pretty much have to win, I would say, like probably eight. I'd say probably 8 of the remaining 14 games at bare minimum just to get themselves enough points to be contending for a playoff spot. And then at that point, they still need 2 of the teams above them to perform significantly worse than that, like, 2 to 3 wins each over the rest of the season in order for them to actually vault over them. I
Yeah.
think they could make a competitive enough run with this team over the rest of the season to start taking some games off of the playoff contenders and start actually impacting
Yeah, like they
the
could improve to the point where they're not getting rolled, which I thought we were kind of seeing. Like they're not going to get rolled over
yeah.
every game, but they're not doing enough to, I don't think, contend. And if you're not going to contend, I don't I don't know what the point of keeping the team together, hoping that you can build a competitive team
The
at
the
least.
only
That's
thing
that's
I
the only.
can the only thing I can think, right, is that Zam knows that they're not going to be a competitive team even if they make trades because like you said, I think the trade window is
Yeah.
passed at this point. Even if they
Yeah.
make a trade, they're still going to need that exact same situation that I described where they're going to need like 8 wins minimum, probably 9 to really potentially be in a playoff position and they need help from 2 other teams sucking it really hard.
Yeah.
Whether or not they
And
make a trade,
yeah.
that needs to happen. And the likelihood of all of that coming together for them is incredibly low. So I think the only justification would be that Zam knows even if they make a trade, it's not going to change anything. And at this point, he'd rather just play it out and play with people that like and play with a group that all likes each other and enjoys
Yeah.
playing together and try to have some fun with the rest of the season than to go through and try and make an effort to take that 5% chance or whatever it is that they make the playoffs at this point, which
Yeah,
I
and
can,
that's we're talking about just making the playoffs
yeah, which
is the thing.
at this point I can see the logic in that. Has Because he hasn't made a trade already, personally I think he should have made a trade a while ago, right? But now that we're
Yeah.
operating in the world in which that hasn't happened, I can absolutely see why he doesn't have any interest in breaking up the
Yeah.
lineup just to still not make the playoffs. I can totally see why he'd rather just play with his friends because this is a great opportunity. It's not often you get to play with friends in the
Yeah,
LHL,
especially as many of them.
let alone all the people that gelled together like that. So I
Yeah, he's got
understand.
Lalo and Jerry and
Um,
Johnny, and that Kiwi I know is I think getting to be buddies with those guys.
yeah.
I,
So
I know they wanted him.
I think the longer that this team doesn't make a trade, the less likely it is to happen at
Yeah.
this point.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I'm not saying like they should even do it now. Like I just say it's frustrated the hell out of me that like I think I won't say specifically, but I'm pretty sure Zam was holding off on trades that he was gonna wait and see, and it bothered me.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that he like even if they had won the game against us. and they come out with 2 wins. I still don't have faith, and they didn't. And I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't think.
that's
I
kind of
thought
the
that was
way
one of our better games. Was that one on
that's
Friday against them?
yeah, and that's kind of the way I looked at it too, in the sense of like, yeah, even if you go 2-0 on Friday, and you're now what 3-8 instead of 2-9, you're still you're still 4 points out of a playoff spot at that point in time.
Yeah,
So you're still not particularly close. And with the way your team's been performing for the course of the season, there isn't enough of a track record to show that this team is capable of clawing themselves back out of that hole. So I would agree. I think that really was the time that they needed to make the trade was last weekend.
yeah,
Friday, not this week, but last week was really the time where Zam should have been evaluating where things were at and then making a decision over the weekend as far as which trades to go for.
yeah.
I think
Of
it's too
course,
late
I don't
now,
know.
so
Yeah, maybe he did make that decision and just decided exactly what maybe he's thinking now, which
yep.
is, well, I don't know. I don't know what he's thinking now. Maybe he's gonna make a trade, but it would have to be something crazy. He
Yeah,
would
I
have to,
just
and
I
like
don't
you
think
were
it's
talking
worth
about.
it.
I don't know that he does it.
Yeah, I don't think they stand anything to gain by making a trade at this point. The only
Not
thing they
unless you're
could
getting guys who you can
potentially
protect.
That's what I was going to say. The only thing I
Yeah.
could potentially see is if he's trying to trade for people that he could work with next season. We spoke about a couple of those
Of course,
targets
I
before,
haven't
like
talked. I don't know if he wants the GM, so who knows?
true, yeah, he might
Yeah.
not, right? But that would be the only thing I could see is if you're trying to get like the people we've mentioned before, right? Like Goose, Ike, and Marchie are three of the names that have popped up consistently as people that could be really good protection targets. I think Skis in the fifth round is another good potential one there, as you'd
Yep,
only have to
that's one.
spend a fourth round on him. But there's a number of those players out there that could be really good to potentially build a team around for fairly cheap next season. Johnny Hockey is actually another one already where he's got somebody on his roster who could be worth protecting for a one round hire in the following. But if he's not planning on coming back next season, which is entirely likely, we don't really know yet, right? Then, yeah, I mean, there's,
Yeah,
I'm trying to find a good way to spin it. And unfortunately, there really aren't any. So I guess I hope that at this point, I hope they stick together and just have a good time with it.
so yeah. I just want
And
to play the next
yeah,
season is the main
exactly.
thing.
That's my concern. My concern is that we see people like Johnny, like Jerry, maybe Jay
I
Lalu
think
as well.
I think I had a little bit of a conversation with Lalo where he was kind of on the
Yeah,
fence about
m-
next season.
that's my concern really with this team is not their performance now, but maintaining those players for future seasons.
Yeah,
Because we see this happen sometimes where a team is so far down and out that they're just getting bullied by a lot of others, and they just are non-competitive, and a lot of the players from those teams end up understandably not wanting to play next season because they've just been dragged up and down the ice for 20 25 games or whatever over a 3 month span the season prior. So I totally understand why certain players would feel like that, and it's definitely for the good of the community. It is bad if those players don't return,
yeah.
especially where we've already got a few players who we mentioned earlier that look like they might not be able to play next season or in the near future. So,
And we don't exactly have guys waiting in the,
no, we don't.
you know,
We do not. So,
unless Dildozer's coming back. Hey, somebody call him up. Get him ready for season 21.
when I asked him, he said he wasn't interested in coming back. So
Well,
I don't know if season 21 is going to be any different than season 20 from that perspective, but we'll see.
maybe if they see there's an actual season going on, maybe they didn't believe us. Some of them.
True. All right, let's talk about Boston. Move on to the next team. So,
Okay.
Boston had, I believe it was a 2-2 week. I think they won both their games on Tuesday and then lost both when they were missing Delphin and Drag on Friday. So net, I think they were 3-4 coming into this week, 5-6 coming out of it. So basically in the same spot they were last time. However, they are down to the fourth seed at this point, as New Jersey has the tiebreaker over them. They are tied up in their head-to-head series. Goal differential in their head-to-head series is even at 0. but New Jersey has a better goal differential over the course of the rest of the season, which is the third tiebreaker. So currently New Jersey is in third place. So every team plays every other team 5 times, so there will be a clear victor between the two of them. But for now, it's been pretty neck and neck, which is exciting. And they're both currently 5 points behind Toronto for second. So anyway, but as far as Boston goes, little bit hard to evaluate their week when their full starting lineup wasn't there for half the games. I have a hard time putting a lot of stock into those 2 games to say like, oh, we can draw any conclusions out of this. At least that's how I feel anyway. I'm not sure how you feel, but I would say Sully had a better week than he did the week prior. He looked pretty good this week. Paco also continued to play a pretty dominant game. Taser's gone a little bit more quiet here of late, not quite as much offensive production as what he had shown a little bit earlier in the season, but that's a little bit understandable. I mean, he's playing with 3 other players that are also, you know, pretty potent offensively on their own, so there's never going to be enough puck to go around to all 4 players. So somebody will wind up having to take a backseat eventually, and Tays is the type of player who is willing to do that and is capable of doing that because he can impact the game tremendously
without the
without
puck.
ever having to touch the puck
Yeah.
offensively. So, but yeah, so I'd say tough to draw conclusions on where they are right now.
I haven't
I
been able to get a read on this team all season where I think they're going to end up.
Yeah, it's
I
hard
thought they'd be
because
better. Then I didn't think they looked very good. Now I think they're okay. But
they they tend to
uh,
flip flop back and forth a lot. I feel like they one of the teams that will, they'll win a game, lose a game, win a game, lose a game, win two, lose
yeah,
two. Like they're one of those teams that kind of goes back and forth a lot. So it's really hard to get a good assessment on where their team is at as a whole. I definitely think they are good enough to be a playoff team. I'd be a little surprised if
yeah.
they aren't in the playoffs. They
Oh
certainly
yeah.
have the talent to do that, and they certainly have a team all around that can win in a number of ways if they need to. So, but until we see them sort of even out to a more consistent level, I think that's really the biggest takeaway that we can have at the moment, which is they have a lot of upside, but they also have a lot of downside. And there is a big swing between their high level that they are capable of and then the level we sometimes see from them in some spot games here or there where it's just kind of like, ooh, you know? So but again, tough to judge this past week too much when you're missing half of your starting lineup for half of the games of the week. So my biggest takeaway for them
Yeah.
this season and what I'm most interested in is a person we have already chatted about a number of times and had as a guest on here, but Paco, obviously being the first time that he's ever been a first round selection, one, and two, the first time where he's ever been like the prominent centerpiece of a team. Even back in season 19, which, we say it's the previous season, right? In air quotes, but it was
Yeah.
2 years ago. Paco was typically like, third round pick, maybe a second round pick, fourth round pick, somewhere in there. He was typically like not one of your best 2 players on the ice. So it's a big jump up that he's taken in terms of his responsibility compared to what he used to do in his career. And it's a big change, too, to go from defense to offense, especially for somebody who is very defensively minded like he is. If you watch the games, you'll see that he's constantly going back all the time, rotating back for his defensemen, which honestly, I think he's probably the perfect forward to pair with guys like Tays and Dalfan who like to come up and contribute offensively. He's the perfect forward for them because he knows when to rotate back, he knows how to do it effectively, and he knows where to position himself once he's back there and doesn't get sort of lost in the moment. So I think having him is a fantastic pairing for the rest of the team that he has, and it doesn't surprise me at all to see him performing well and being very successful on this team. The only thing I would say is I'd be interested to see him take a little bit more ownership of the puck sometimes. I think a lot of times he's very willing and sometimes a little bit too willing to pass the puck away when he has the ability and the talent to be able to make a guy miss or get around a guy, and he doesn't always take that. I think he's still kind of working into the mentality of like how he needs to be playing as the offensive carry on a team, but he's certainly capable of doing a lot of the things that some of the, what you would consider the top tier forwards in the league to be. So I think he's got another level that he can still show us offensively, at least in terms of goal scoring. And I'm thinking he's going to need to be able to hit that in order for them to actually win a championship this season.
Yeah. Yeah, this team could contend. Even, I mean, it's pretty. Paco is above the rest, but it's been pretty balanced scoring from the rest of them. And even Paco's not like, it's not like New Jersey where he's over 3 a game or something crazy. But you probably do need to see something like that. You probably need to see him get over 2.5 and maintain it.
And the
If
the big thing for Paco too is that like his points per game are good, but the goals per game is around one. It's only a little bit over one, and that's really where like that's where I'm getting at with my point that I was making is that I think he needs to show that he is like mentally ready to take on more of a role in terms of goal scoring. It's great that the whole team can score. Don't get me wrong. That's a very important element and it makes it way easier to win games when you don't have to rely on one person. But there are going to be times in the season and in the playoffs where you have to rely on your carry forward. You do need a carry forward to some extent. And while Paco is certainly capable of that, he hasn't shown that to the full extent that he is capable of in these league games.
yeah, yeah, sickening player needs to bring it. I mean, not to knock a 2 point per game carry job
No,
that
he's
he's doing as the
performing
number
incredibly
one.
well. He's performing
Yeah,
incredibly well. I'm nitpicking here in
yeah,
saying
exactly.
this for
But
sure.
you're right. Like, if you're gonna win the cup, you gotta, you're gonna want to see that.
Yep.
Unfortunately, in this game, you don't see the cup with 4 balanced scores.
No, no,
You see it with 1 or 2 guys doing all of it, and
yep,
everybody else playing well all
exactly,
around.
exactly. It's just kind of the nature of how the game works, right? There's only so much puck to go around, as
Yeah,
I said earlier, right? You can't feed everybody 3 goals a game. It's just never going to happen. So, but
yeah,
yeah, I think he is going to continue to be the X factor for this team. Obviously, Sully's been a little up and down in some cases, letting in some goals that he probably shouldn't be, but he's also making some outrageous saves that he probably shouldn't be.
yeah,
So you get both sides of it with Sully, but it evens out to the point where he's a very proficient goalie and is definitely one of the best goalies in the league. So they're certainly not in any difficult position with the roster they have. I don't think we'll see them make any trades at all this season.
I think the opposite. I think this team is my dark horse pick to make a big crazy trade.
You think so?
Oh yeah, I could see them. I think Sully has put himself in a good spot where he's got guys he can move and guys who have value. Anybody. I would say Paco's off the table. You got to hang on to Paco. But Taze, Dalf, and Drag are guys, and even Parabola on the bench. They're all guys you could move, and I think have value, even if they weren't playing well. I think they're guys who have value. Not that
Hmm.
any of them aren't playing well. I'm just saying they have the name value. They can be effective, and I think Sully could maybe move any of them and end up with a similar, if not better, team. I think he could up. I think there are upgrades to be made, even though these guys getting traded are good and could help other teams. I think Sully is in a pretty cool spot where he could, we could see him move. I don't know, just any of them, and potentially shift his team around. Maybe get Paco a little more help, or you could get. I don't know. I don't know what it'll be. You can see like the good thing about the name value is you can get the other guys with name value. Like if we go back to LA, I don't think there's a lot of trade value there, and but with some of these names on Boston, maybe you could swing J Law. Maybe you could get something crazy. And I think Sully, I don't know if he's gonna. I think he could, and I think that would be really interesting if he did. And I think it would put his team in a good spot
So
if he were able to make a crazy move.
yeah, so I mean I definitely agree with that point of it.
Yeah,
I think he's probably one of the teams that is most well set up to make a crazy trade because
yeah,
he's got so many quality pieces across his lineup and in his backups as well. So I certainly agree with your point there. I don't think Sully's the type of GM that would go out and do that. I think Sully is more along the lines of the type of GM that would want to ride it out, especially where he's in a playoff position already. Um, but
yeah. But I mean,
technically,
to be
as
fair,
much as
he's
as much as they don't feel like it, they do have a losing record. I wouldn't describe them as a losing team, right? I don't think you would either,
no,
but they do technically have a losing record at the moment. So
And I mean, the 2 games they lost with 2 backups in, having 1 backup in, you'd still kind of like to see a win there. But 2 in, I think that could have been expected, even
Yeah,
against a
yeah.
bottom team like LA. I think,
They
like,
should have
I get it.
won.
Yeah,
They should have won the game against us. I mean, they outplayed us heavily in that game. We were
yeah,
not we were not very good. The first period was okay, but the second and third period we were really really not good, and they had several opportunities to win that game. And I think if their starters were there, they absolutely do. They probably win that game like 4 or 5-2. So
yeah. The other thing about making the deal is I think even if he trades one of these guys and screws it up, I think the team's still probably in an okay enough spot that, he could salvage it with a backup or with whatever he gets back if it's not as good as what he moved,
yeah,
or if it doesn't end up being as good.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm not 100%. I'm like, these guys could win. Like, they could win it, honestly. Like,
They
the
have the
playoff
lineup to do it.
series,
They
yeah.
have the lineup to do it. I completely agree.
But at the same time, they're not super consistent. You're not getting the crazy amount of goals out of Paco.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think we need to see another level from him just to show that he's capable of doing it, especially where
If I'm in Sully's spot here, I would make a move. I would swing for the fences, try to really build a big contender.
it would be cool to see him do it. I would
Yeah,
definitely be in favor of seeing that happen. I don't think it will. I don't think it will. So,
kills his Ike for drag swap. Don't
Kill,
quite
you need
see
to
that.
change your Twitch name, okay? This is kind of uh
Yeah, I don't. I mean, Ike, maybe he's a guy you get. Maybe you gamble on him, kind of creating some offense because
I
he can
can't
do it. But
see.
I don't see him trading for Ike.
Yeah, I
I
can't
would have
see
to see it
that
be something.
unless they did like Ike and Tidge for like Dalf and Drag or
Yeah,
Taze and Drag. Like it would have to be a multiplayer deal at that point for it to be worth it for New Jersey to do that. So yeah,
yeah, and then at that point, it's probably not worth it for Boston to do. No, I'm thinking.
what's wrong with my Twitch name? I got it from Roblox in 2005. Oh my, excuse me while I vomit real quick.
Yeah. The big problem with trades, if we get back to everybody, and I think I might have said something similar, but like, as much as I would love to see that, and I think, oh yeah, you could get big crazy trade. This is kind of the only team I can see being able to do that. They've I they don't have a lot of trade partners. I see
Well,
Colorado making a move,
I
and
think
I don't think other teams have the stuff to be able to send back.
Well, my argument there would be they don't have the stuff to send it back, but that doesn't mean that might not happen, right? We can still
Yeah,
see a crazy trade where somebody gives up, like Zam gives up Jalalu as an example. Like that's something that isn't entirely out of the realm of possibility that I think would still qualify as a crazy trade, right? So
yeah. I could see that. I think Jay Lalo would be a great fit on this team, but
I think he and Paco
I don't
would
know if
work really well together.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if you're Sully, if you trade Drag and one of your defensemen, if he does it. I mean, I maybe would. I'm kind of high on Jay Lalu, so
I don't see how that would work for LA though. If you're gonna do that, if you're gonna trade
yeah,
Drag plus, let's say Taze, right? Because he and Zam have played together before and played well together. So
yeah,
let's pick the two of them. What what makes it worth it for Boston to do that? Because getting back Jalalu is really good, but you're giving up one of your
yeah,
two defensemen that you like traded back up into or used your assets that you gained by trading back into the first to acquire. So you're kind of throwing that away a little bit and then banking on the extra offense from Jalalu to make up the difference for it. I could see it happening, but to me that's like a potentially lateral move where you're kind of just making a trade for the sake of switching it up and not necessarily because it's a clear win. So, and
yeah,
I don't see Sully making that type of deal, I guess is really where I'm going with it. So,
yeah. I am not. I'm not sure. I'd like to see the trade from this team to kind of, I don't know, get some more goal scoring
hmm
from somewhere. But yeah, I'm looking around actually at these rosters. Not sure how that happens
yeah.
unless you do kind of that. which I think is kind of a problem with everybody. Probably a problem Zam ran into looking at trades is he looks at what he can get and it's like, okay, I'm kind of stuck.
Not good enough to make enough of a
Yeah,
difference. Yeah.
yeah. It's a gamble. Whatever you do, you're gambling on somebody, hoping that in a different role they succeed. Like
Yeah.
Ike, for example, name tossed out.
Well,
He's not quite what he used to be.
speaking of Ike, let's transition to New Jersey here, the
Yeah,
last of the six
he's looking
teams.
good.
Yeah, I mean, no, he's not playing poorly. I mean,
I just said it because I just said he's not what he used to be.
yeah, he's not playing
Jump right
poorly,
into it.
and you can see that the talent is still there. But I
Hmm.
think the matching of him and Otto is definitely not yielding the same results as it did last time. So the two of them were on Montreal together when Otto tore up the league for like 3.7 points a game or something, and Otto is still tearing up the league. Don't get me wrong there, but it doesn't feel like Ike is settled into the team the same way he did on Montreal. When they were playing together in Montreal, he definitely found his sort of own niche to exist in and was able to still like generate a lot and be able to be a presence on his own within the realm that is Otto. But this time around, it seems like he's having a little bit of a harder time sort of finding that and understanding what's the best way for him to play off of Otto. So I think that's been one of the issues that's held them back a little bit so far this season. Beyond that, it would be the inconsistency from Narg that we've been seeing. He's had a
Hmm.
couple really good games, but he's also had some like real stinkers, basically, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough to tell with this team because you look at their record at 5-6, and it feels
Same as
like
Boston.
yeah, it is, and it feels like they're better than a 5-6 team,
Yeah.
especially with how well Otto is performing. I mean, he's leading the league in.
Yeah, Otto's gonna win MVP.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and he's gonna win playoff MVP if he makes it to the playoffs. Even if they lose in the first round, Otto will still probably be in the running for playoff MVP, as he should be. So yeah, Otto is absolutely nuts right now. He's 2 points ahead for most points right now, and he's 7 goals ahead for most goals. So he's been dominating, and he has been the vast majority of their offensive production. They've only scored 4 goals that didn't include Otto in some fashion, which is in itself a little bit concerning, and that's sort of where the Ike thing comes into play here a little bit more, right? Because
Yeah.
typically in the past, teams that have to rely solely on one person for everything, every game to generate offense, those are the teams that wind up struggling a little bit more in the playoffs because it's a lot harder for one player to do that. And that's really where you need to see somebody like Ike step up and be able to fill that role, fill those shoes that's left behind when Otto starts getting much more heavy defense played against him. We've seen that happen to me personally on every team I've been on in the playoffs. That happens constantly where I get focused, and then as a result, it requires your secondary forward and your defenseman to be able to sort of pick up the slack a little bit more for you. And when that can't happen, and when you can't break through that extra level of defense, your team loses. And like I said, we've seen that happen before with me. We've seen it happen before with Otto, and they're somewhat trending potentially in that direction right now, unless I can start picking up the slack a little bit more on his end and being able to generate a little bit more. One thing I will say in Ike's defense is that I don't think Otto is really given him a lot of leeway to do that. It feels like Otto hasn't really supported him in the same way that he did during the Montreal season. Otto's
Mm.
not doing anywhere near as much passing to Ike, or really to his other defensemen. It's been a lot more him keeping the puck and attempting to score. And I'm not saying that that's the wrong play because
Yeah.
he's
Working.
doing it right. It's working, but definitely the change in the way that Otto is approaching the game is a lot of the reason why Ike is having a harder time fitting in.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that their team funnels the puck so hard to Otto puts Ike in somewhat of a position to not be successful anyway, because he's not really being given the opportunity frequently
Yeah.
to show what he has to offer.
Yeah, and one thing that doesn't get shown here in the stats in the handful of New Jersey games that I've seen is I have been liking Ike off the puck more than I used to. I used to think he wasn't very good if he didn't have the puck. I think that's probably a fair criticism of him.
Mhm.
Is when he didn't have the puck and he wasn't scoring, he wasn't very effective.
Yeah.
I think he's doing a pretty good job this season all around and kind of getting his stick in in the lanes and forechecking and taking pucks and things like that. It's those opportunities when he does have the puck where he isn't scoring as much as he used to. Because I thought even this season in playing with Otto, I thought he was going to be a 2 point per game player, and it's not really happening. Uh, so it's kind of he has the opposite problem that I think he used to, where he was good with the puck, not so good without it. I think he's better without the puck, but that's still not kind of what you want out of him. I don't know.
He needs to be able to do both, really,
Yeah,
is what needs to happen for New Jersey's sake, not just his own, right? It's great that he's been able to improve and show that he's better without the puck, but they also need to be able to show as a team that they can contribute more scoring outside of Otto, right? We
yeah,
have Otto, like I said, 4 goals that he hasn't participated in, and of the goals they've scored, he has scored 29 of the 41. So more than 2/3 of it, like 75% of the actual goals have been scored by Otto, and not all of their losses because Otto's blown it out in a lot of their losses too, but and a number of their losses are coming when Otto can't score more than like 2 in a game. That's typically when we see them start to run into issues because they just don't generate enough elsewhere. So it is a bit of the concern when you get into such a one-dimensional style of play like this,
hmm
and it's why a lot of these teams tend to struggle a bit more. Now, if there's anybody who can make that system of funneling the puck work, it is Otto. Let's not let's not understate that by any stretch of the imagination. So it's hard to say that the way they're playing is wrong, but I think they need to they need to help enable Ike a little bit more than they are as a team, and Ike needs to step up to the plate a little bit more when he is getting those opportunities to start actually contributing and getting a few more shots on net. I mean, he's got a 50% shooting percentage, which is
yeah.
really
He's not
good.
shooting a whole lot
He's
though.
It's really good, right? But he's
Yeah.
only getting 1.5 shots a game. And for somebody the skill of Ike, you kind of want that to be higher than that.
hmm
So but I
Yeah.
think they have the lineup that is capable of taking them to first seed. They have a lineup that's capable of winning for sure. It's just a matter of utilizing it in the most effective way possible. And I think that's really been the key thing that's kind of dragging them down a little bit. Seeing more consistency out of Narg will make a big difference as well. And I do think they will get that the farther into the season we go. Narg's a bit of a strange creature. So, but he typically plays his best in the playoffs. Goose is another goalie who operates a lot like that. They play their best in the playoffs. So I think they'll see improvement as it goes along. It's just a matter of setting themselves up for success as best as possible for when that time comes.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a team too, kind of screwed by the crappy trade market that I pointed out. Of we're not in a great spot for trades. There aren't backups with any real value, and the starters are either having good seasons or they're not, and then they don't have a lot of value. This is a team that, if they wanted to make a deal, doesn't really have anything to do. So we're talking about, oh, you could trade Ike to Boston. I don't know. I don't know that it's worth it for anybody to make
Yeah,
these swaps.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment on the whole, which for how much trade rumors there have been, it would be really disappointing, or it will be really disappointing when there's
Yeah.
like 0 trades made this season.
There's
But
probably going to be like one trade.
yeah, but I certainly agree with your point here, which is we're kind of at a point right now where a lot of these trades don't feel worth it. And
Yeah.
the GMs we have, for one of the first times ever, we have 6 GMs that are intelligent enough to be able to recognize when they're on the losing side of a trade. We've had way too many GMs in previous seasons that aren't capable of recognizing that and wind up being on the bad side of numerous trades that really sway the outcome of the season. We've seen that a lot in the past, but we have 6 that are being intelligent with it. Obviously, we have some criticisms of Zam not being a little bit more proactive with with his team here. But for the most part, at least he's not taking losing trades that
Yeah.
he's clearly going to just not improve from. So there is some credit to be given there. And I think it's going to be the same deal with Austin. I think Austin's smart enough to not just make a trade for the sake of doing it. He's going to make a trade if he thinks it's going to be something that he can win. And
Mm.
there aren't a ton of trade opportunities out there that are a clear win for them. I know
Yeah.
the Kiwi thing comes up a lot, right? The Kiwi
Yeah.
auto chemistry, and that's certainly something that's been part of these rumors. But the longer time goes on, the less and less likely it seems like that's actually going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also a lot of the issues that maybe the team's having. It's just getting Kiwi even correct them.
Yeah, and that's
You
the thing.
know,
I'm
it's
not sure it does because if you take Ike out and put
yeah,
Kiwi in, it doesn't really change the way that they play the game, I don't think. And they still are going to want to have a secondary forward that can contribute goals that Otto is going to be a little bit more willing to work with. And maybe that's the case when Kiwi comes in. Maybe Otto's a little bit more willing to pass the Kiwi because it feels like he's
yeah,
not willing to pass the Ike a lot of the time. But that's not a guarantee. And it's not going to change the fact that the defensemen are still going to be prioritizing getting the puck to Otto, and that Otto's still not going to be prioritizing, skating around people and getting in close and scoring like he usually does, right? So I'm not sure how much it changes. And I would say in total over the course of their careers, Ike is a better goal scorer than Kiwi is. And I don't think that's an unfair point to make about Kiwi. So I don't see him changing sort of what they need, or
yeah.
making the change that they need, being the change they need is really the phrase I'm looking for here to make it work a little bit better. So I think you're kind of swapping one sort of potential, I don't want to say question mark, right? But one potential area of improvement for another potential area of improvement. So
You know,
yeah,
you know, this is the only team besides Colorado with a positive shot differential.
I did not notice that.
That I just saw that Toronto's still behind, and I noticed Boston was behind,
I think
and
Boston and Toronto are close though, aren't they?
they're close. Yeah, I think Toronto's really close. Yeah, Toronto's under point 0.1, 0.09 away. But it's
Kiwi, to
funny.
answer your
That's just funny
question,
to me.
conditional trades are not allowed. The trade has to involve all moving pieces immediately when the trade is made.
Yeah. Um.
Anyway, it would be interesting to see what would happen. Obviously, Kiwi and Otto have worked well together in the past. I don't know that it will work any better than what Otto is showing right now.
Yeah.
But it is something that I could see not hurting them. And there is
It
potential
might
room
not
for
hurt. I don't
improvement
know.
with them too.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I'm pretty sure Zam doesn't want to make that move. Fairly
Yeah,
certain,
yeah, and again, a lot of that
which we
probably
already
comes,
talked about.
yeah, a lot of that probably comes back to the whole point of them wanting to just have fun with the season at this point,
Yeah.
right? So bringing Ike in, who's somebody that's not part of the friend group at all, and then you don't know how well Ike's going to work with Jalalu either. I don't think their play styles really mesh that well together, to be honest with you. So I don't think I would imagine that that's probably part of a concern that Zam would have on that front. So.
Yeah. Yeah, you're really gambling on Ike to kind of carry, do that what he used to do.
Hmm. Hmm. All right.
Yeah, well, sad times. I would have liked to see a trade
Yeah, there's still a
by
chance,
now.
but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say we're probably not gonna see one. So,
Yeah, me too.
or not more than one. How about that? If the
Yeah,
over under was 1.5 trades on the season, I'm
yeah,
taking the under. Let's put it that way.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. That's exactly. You know what? Kind of speaking of trades and this team in particular, you make that trade, and that's all you get. You get one shot at it too, because
yep,
once you move Ike, that's it. You have
yep.
nothing else you can trade.
And if it doesn't work, you're
Yep,
you're
you're
screwed.
in trouble. Yeah,
Yep,
you can't get that extra. You can't add anything else to the team at that point.
yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
Quacky says you're missing the Patriots game. We're running too long.
Yes, I am missing the Patriots game, and I haven't even looked at the score yet today. Let me look at this. How bad is the
Let's talk
damage
about
at the moment?
let's go around the NFL. Let's see how it's going.
Patriots are only losing by 3. Okay, it's not terrible. Not terrible. Kind of surprised that they're keeping it that close, to be honest with you, with how shitty they are, but that's fine. Ew, Josh Allen's kind of sucking it. That's a big part of it. Anyway, okay. So let's get into predictions. Obviously, we don't have a guest with us this week, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. We will be polling the chat here for your guys' opinions. So when we get to each matchup, while Tony and I are talking about it, I will ask you guys in chat to go ahead and type out who you think is going to win. The team with the most number of votes in chat is going to get the W here. So
It's gonna be hard to ignore people on the team, I guess.
yes, it will be. I could make a straw poll. You're right. Why don't I do that? Make a straw poll for each day, and let's do it that way. Uh, well, I'd have to do it for each game though. This would be annoying
Yeah.
because
Quick,
you
Google
can't really
Sheet.
do
Hurry.
Google Sheets. Nah, not worth it. Not worth it.
We're just gonna have to count them up.
Yeah, I'll count them up manually. Not that big of a deal. Okay, so let's start with it's Toronto and LA that open up the day on Tuesday here. So this one is a tale of two teams. One team that's won 7 of their last 8, and the other team that's lost 7 of their last 8. So two teams heading in very opposite directions at this point in time. So I can start a poll on Twitch. How do I do that, Quacky? How do I do a poll? Somebody teach me how to Twitch.
Thanks, Quacky.
I don't even
Thanks
see
for all that
this.
help. Mod can do it below chat.
I don't see I see chat and I see a little chat settings thing, and yeah, I don't fucking see this anywhere. Y'all are trolling.
Austin is right about this one, at least.
Yeah, that is true. Sorry, I'm looking to see if there's any way to do this. Maybe it's an extension. It might be a Twitch extension that lets you do polls. Whatever. All right, we'll figure it out for a future episode. Not that big of a deal. Okay, so chat, while we're talking about this one, go ahead and type out LA or Toronto. Who you think is going to win this? Tony, I'll start with you for this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Toronto here.
Yep. So LA actually does have the tiebreaker right now between these two teams, which is funny. I think it's the only head-to-head matchup that they have at the moment. But I do think Toronto is going to come out and win this game. They've been playing way too well recently. They've been putting up a lot of goals and playing good defense. Spurt's been playing good, all-around solid game, playing to their strengths well. So I'm going to pick Toronto as well on this
On
one.
the dashboard at Dyal.
Okay, I was in the stream manager thing and I don't see that anywhere. Is that the same as the dashboard? We're at 2-2 on votes here from the chat. So while I continue to wait
Rules.
for another vote on the chat, whoever votes next, you're the tiebreaker. I'm gonna look to see if I can get this this dashboard going.
Come on, there's allegedly 12 watching. Maybe all the Toronto guys don't want to vote.
Probably.
How kind of them.
We got Caps voting. Caps voting for Tor.
3-2. Quacky's vote shouldn't count.
True. I would agree with that.
For any team, any pick, I don't think
Yeah,
Quacky's
I would
votes
agree
should
with
count.
that.
Yeah. No, LA.
Yeah,
I
you're
don't.
lying to me, Tish. There's nothing here in the dashboard. I'm being fibbed to. I will be complaining to you after the game. But okay, so let's give Toronto the prediction for the chat here. So
Tidge sent a link.
yeah, it's too late. It's too late. Anyway, I would advise that everybody pick whatever I don't pick because I'm 6-10 on the season so far. I went 2-6 last week in predictions.
Yeah, but you can't pick Colorado, which I can.
Sorry, I went
gives
3
me
and I went
easy
3 and
wins.
5. I went 3 and 5 both weeks, so not great. Paco, though, got to give him the shout out. Tidge went 4-4 as the first guest. Paco went 6-2 as our second guest, so he's killing it. Tony is 9-7. So between the co-hosts, anyway, Tony, you're smashing ass right now. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to one that we can't vote on because we both play in it. Seattle and Colorado. So, chat, this is another one where we need votes from you guys. This is actually going to be the first game between our two teams where you're going to be on defense.
Yeah.
So this is
Went
going to
well
be a
for us
very
in that scrim, but
yes,
who gives
yeah.
a shit?
The scrims definitely make a difference here. Yes, Eric, you can vote. Quacky voted as well. So this will be a game with Eric in net, but it will also be a game with Tony on defense. So two different things to consider. The games have been pretty one-sided up to this point for Colorado, but you being on defense could be a potentially big difference here between the two of them. So, all right. So it looks like we've got
1,
3-2
2.
Colorado because Tidge is changing.
Oh.
Looks like Colorado's winning the vote 3-2.
Okay, yeah.
If we take out Eric and Quacky, it's still 2-1. So yeah, chat, you guys are these are going to the guest prediction record, okay? This is gonna count.
Add these.
This is gonna count. Sorry to say. All right, so let's move on to the next one. I'm gonna read this.
Oh, we all get to pick it.
Yep, I'm gonna read this Tidge article he sent real quick while you and
I break down the matchup.
Our guests are gonna break down this one. Yep. So.
All right. So you know what? This is just looking around. They play again next week. Ooh, Toronto's hot. Boston, you never know what you're gonna get. I'm gonna pick Boston. I don't know. I'm not sold on this one, but I'm gonna pick Boston. Gut feeling, call it. There's no logic behind what I'm picking. I just have a hunch.
Okay, so you're picking Boston here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tidge, I can see them giving Toronto
your article says to add the poll option under the Grow Your Community section to your quick actions. There is no poll option here.
Tidge changed his vote again after a couple of Boston.
So this is either only available to people that are partners and not just affiliates, because I'm only an affiliate, or it is like not available anymore, or is a extension, because this is not here. So sorry guys. I'll look for an extension that allows for this next time around. Okay, so we've got, it looks like 3-2 for Boston, 4-2. Cap
4-1. Tidge switched.
Oh, I see. Okay. 4-1. So, yep. All right. Boston's getting the big vote from the chat. I'm gonna be different in an attempt to save my prediction record for this season and catch up. So, KP, you better not fuck me on this, or I'm gonna fucking kill you. KP is gonna score a Ovech trick. He's gonna get 9 goals, and Toronto is going to win this game in overtime, 10-9. That is my official prediction.
9-8 overtime. Come on, Dyal. It's
no,
not
10-9.
5
10-9. It's gonna be one better.
Oh, wait, who's getting the other goal?
Owl.
Okay.
In an unassisted goal, he's gonna pinch up at a bad time, but he's gonna strip the puck away from Paco, and he's gonna walk it in on Sully. Sully's gonna jump over it. That'll be the game winner, by the way, in overtime. KP will have all 9 goals in regulation. All right, so that brings us to Seattle and New Jersey. So chat, go ahead and do your thing. Type in chat who you think is going to win. This matchup so far, only one game played between these teams. This is the final game day where that'll be the case.
Hey,
But New Jersey came out with the victory last time by a score of 4-2. I think the game was. I think New Jersey's probably going to win this game again. I'm sorry to say, Tony. I think New Jersey has the upper hand here. You being on defense will make a big difference. I think that'll be a lot better in terms of
yeah, it'll make a
containing
big difference
Otto.
because I won't be able to stop Otto.
No, I think you will. I think you will be able to stop Otto. I trust you against it. So you've done well against him in the past.
That's not true.
It is true.
One time
It
it
is
happened.
true.
One day
Yep.
it
Well,
ever it
that one
happened.
day is better than pretty much all the rest of the league. So
By the way, yeah, Dial, it's updating in the Google Drive, but it's not updating on the stream. The picks.
oh, interesting. Okay.
I think it's on the wrong day.
I can manually refresh it. No, it's on the
Yeah,
right day. It's
Is it
just
the right
not.
day?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it says somebody's clicked on chat, but it's not. There's
There we
nobody
go.
clicked there.
I refreshed it. I
Oh,
can
there it is.
manually refresh it. It just must not be refreshing on its own for some reason. So I'll do that after we update each pick here. Okay, so it looks like chat is New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like chat is New Jersey. So sorry, Tony, but the chat and I are against you, which means you're probably going to win based on my track record. So
I think
congratulations.
it's 3-2, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Or 3-1. 3-1. Or
Let's
no,
see.
no, KP said Seattle. Yep, so 3-2.
Yeah.
So these have been close so far, guys. If we lose, we could just say it's Dyal's fault. Yes, that is absolutely the case. All right, so New Jersey, Boston, what has turned out to be one of the best series actually so far between any of the teams. New Jersey, Boston, and New Jersey, Toronto. I love both of those matchups. I think those are really exciting. So what do you guys think? We'll start with the chat here. Let's get these picks in. New Jersey, two off the bat. KP's also saying New Jersey. We got four for New Jersey, one for Boston here.
Tinge picking against this team. To just throw in to get the pick right.
Yep. All right, so it's New Jersey from the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, to restore my record, I'm picking Boston here. You know, I got to catch up to you guys somehow. Paco, not going to get the 9 goals that KP got in the first game. He's not going to match that. But I think Paco's going to come out have a big game here. I think he's going to help contributing on the forecheck on Otto or on the defenseman to help limit the puck from getting to Otto. And I think we're going to see a big game from Sully here as well to keep them in it early. And I think Boston's going to be able to squeak out a close 1-goal victory here.
I think the New Jersey due for a good week, and I think Boston's too conventional to play Otto, so I'm picking Otto.
All right, fair
Not
enough.
New Jersey. I'm picking Otto.
Fair enough.
Otto 5 goals and 6 assists. Ike's going off. 11-1 win. The mercy rule is not in effect. Otto denies it.
Okay, final game of the day for Tuesday is Colorado and LA. So this last time these two teams played, which is the only time, was a 7-2 victory for Colorado. Now this one, chat, go ahead and get your answers in. I'll
Colorado.
provide a little bit of context here. So we won't have Guy this time, which we had last time, and there's still a decent chance that LA could make a trade, even though we think it's unlikely. It is possible for LA to make a trade and have a completely different lineup, and this could be their first set of games with that new lineup. So definitely some potential for things to be shaken up completely by this. So, all right, I'm seeing 1 vote for Colorado and 1 vote for LA. All right, Tidge said LA, so that's 2-1. Austin says
2-2.
Colorado, so it's 2-2. We got a tie here.
And here's the thing: is if you go with my big brain strategy, and I'll throw this one to chat too, because if you would do it, if I'm Colorado, I play Guy against LA, and I just confirm wins this season. I'm not playing him against the good teams. I'm playing him against the bottom teams, and I'm getting my points. And that's what I would do. I would guarantee points in the standings by smashing on bad teams.
You all heard it. Tony said LA was a bad team. I did not say that. But
They're
no,
2
it's
and
certainly
fucking 9.
it's look, I know. It's certainly another way of looking at it. You know, you either want to guarantee your points against teams that aren't as successful, or you want to play your best games against the teams that are most likely to take points away from you. So just two different sides of looking at the same coin. I think really just trying to maximize his effectiveness in the games that he can play. So it's a unique situation that we're in, which I do find to be kind of interesting, even as an objective bystander. It's neat to see how things like this work out. Okay,
Yeah.
so starting to lose my voice already here. Oh man. How long have we been going? Almost 2 hours. Jesus.
Yeah. Oh
See,
my
this is the
god.
problem with us not having a guest is I end up talking way too much and I'm not gonna be able to speak for the rest of the day. I'm already
That
gonna have
was
a
my
tough
plan.
time getting through the rest of these predictions. Fuck. Remember that time we
I think
did
you're
5 hours of
fucking
the
right.
face-off in one day?
Yeah, you should have been doing your vocal warm ups, drinking your water.
That was fucked, man. I've been drinking iced tea. It's probably worse than water. A lot worse than water, I bet. All right, let's start with the Friday game. So, chat, go ahead and get your predictions in. We've got New Jersey and LA kicking off the games here. LA has played them surprisingly close, like I brought up when we were
Yeah.
going through their team. They've been keeping Otto to a minimal amount of goals every time, which has been impressive. But I do think this is going to be the time that Otto finally breaks through and is able to put up more than just like 2 goals against them or 1 goal. I think we're going to see him kind of blow it out here. And I think we're going to see some sad PK afterwards. He's not going to be happy. But I do
Yeah.
think New Jersey's going to take this game.
Yeah, me too. Even LA isn't a rollover and die kind of bad team like some teams we've seen in the past being last seed. But so I don't like not giving them wins here. Looking at this, I'm gonna go New Jersey. Don't think I'll be picking LA at that bottom one either. Unless they make a deal, make a fucking trade.
Yeah, yeah. If they do make a trade, especially before Tuesday, it's going to completely change how all these predictions look and everything.
Yeah.
So this is all predicated on them not making a trade. All right, next game we've got Boston and Seattle. So Tony, unfortunately, you can't provide any vote here. Do you want to influence the chat in favor of your team in any way?
No.
Okay, all right.
I'm good.
So far, we've got 2 votes for Boston in chat. So while we wait for some more votes to come in here for them, I think this is a really big game for you guys. I think this is
Every game's a big game for
I mean,
us.
yes, obviously that goes without saying, right? But I think this is, especially if you guys go 0-2 on Tuesday, this is a huge game, or this game day in total, as you guys are playing against the two teams that are directly above you. This is a huge day where you guys have to win these 2 games in
Yeah.
order to maintain relevancy in the race for your playoff seed here. I think you guys are gonna step up to the plate here, and I do think you guys are going to win that game. Um, Chat looks like they're picking against you. It's currently 2-1, so I'll put
There's
in
not a lot of
Boston.
votes.
Yeah, I'll put in
Yeah.
Boston for the time being. If we
Come
get a
on,
couple more
people.
votes, I'll switch it. Oh, 2-2. Now we need one
Oh,
more vote to decide it.
there
Oh,
it is.
okay, it's
Kill.
Boston. Kill coming in clutch.
Oh,
Oh,
hold on.
Johnny. Is that Johnny?
I
Is Jay Win Johnny? I think it is. I
don't
can't
know.
remember now, but
Who the fuck are you? Yeah.
okay, it is Johnny. Yep. Coming in and tying it, so we're back 3-3. All
God
right, we
damn it.
will
Who's not
need a
voting?
vote from chat here to determine who's going to win this. We need one more person. Who's going to be the one to step up and split this? Eric's saying Seattle. We're counting it. Chat's voting Seattle.
Yeah.
All right, so we're flipping it. All right. Well, Tony, pressure's on now. You're being favored.
Yeah.
All right, chat.
Yeah.
So we're going to flip the script here a little bit. I cannot vote on this one, but Tony can. So while Tony makes his point and his prediction, go ahead and predict between Colorado and Toronto.
Ooh. This is the non guy. Maybe. Maybe not though. Weird.
I mean,
This is
we
a game
did
I could
say
see you
we were
guys using
saving.
Guy.
We did say we were saving him for Toronto games.
Yeah. But if you're smart, you just play him against LA.
Why not both? Both LA
Yeah, I guess you
games
could.
and the Toronto game. Get his 3 games done.
Right here, he's done.
Yep.
Guy's done after this week. Ooh. I don't know. I guess I'll pick Colorado. I think Colorado
You've been picking
probably
us
still
so
gonna have the
far
edge.
this season, and
I'm
it's
gonna
been
pick
working
Colorado
out.
every game, and I'm just gonna be right most of the time. It's just how it goes when you keep gambling on the best team and the 1 seed. If the
See,
team is
see,
10
that's
and 1 and I pick them every time, I get 10 correct predictions.
see, that's why I'm losing so much, is because I don't
Yeah,
get to vote for our team.
yeah, exactly. That is exactly it.
Yep, yep. Okay,
But Toronto could do this one.
so chat is split again. We got a 2-2 split here for Colorado and Toronto.
You friggin' bastards.
I know, right? You guys are way too split on every matchup except for LA, New Jersey, where it was a clean sweep for New Jersey. Everything else has been like 3-2. So, all right, there we go. We got the Colorado votes coming out. So, currently 4-2 win for Colorado. So we'll leave it at that. 5-2.
Bert came in and picked Colorado.
Oh, 5-3 with Tidge. It's a little bit closer. All right.
He picked Seattle.
Oh, that's not even Toronto. Oh, Tidge, that's a good one. Tidge might have been voting for the next one, though. Let's be fair.
Oh.
Because the next one is Seattle versus New Jersey, which is a rematch of the games that we had here on Tuesday. I really hate having these rematches in the predictions because even if you're right in splitting your votes, if you vote for
gotta
the
get the
wrong
right
two, you're fucked anyway. Drives me nuts. I hate this
Yeah.
shit. So, Tidge, was that a vote for Seattle for this matchup? I guess it doesn't really matter because every team's voting, or every person in chat's voting for New Jersey here. Um, I am going to pick against you guys, though. I think Seattle is going to win this. This is a must-win series of games for Seattle, and I typically, when it's a must-win game, I usually err on the side of Crab's team in that. I've seen Crab win must-win games many times in the past against my own team and others. So, Tony, I'm putting the pressure on you
Yeah,
again.
plus I usually put up like 4 points in the second game and none in the first.
True, true.
So, here we go.
But yeah, this is very likely to be an important game. If New Jersey is able to win their previous 3 games this week, as has been mostly predicted for them to do, then this game won't matter as much for them. But if they do lose some of those games, this will be a pretty big one for maintaining a lead on you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, could very well end up being a must-win for them.
All right, chat, let's get these votes in. Toronto and Boston. Tony, I'm going to throw it to you.
I'm going to pick Boston last time, then I'll go Toronto this time. I think
Be
they'll get
interesting
him
to
in
look
one of the
back
two.
later in the season. Maybe once we get to like the halfway point next week, look back
See
at
how many
all
of these
the
back-to-backs we got wrong?
exactly, and how many of them were actually split versus just cleaned out by one team.
Yeah.
All right, chat, let's get these votes in. Toronto and Boston.
Hurry up, I'm tired. I'm due for my 4 p.m. nap.
I'm gonna
I wish I could
be
nap.
I'm gonna be voting for Boston here. I know I voted Toronto last time. I do think these teams are close enough to be able to split some of these games. Hopefully, I get the split right this time. Probably won't, but that's all right. We've got
One
a
vote.
split so
Two.
far. Yep, 1-1 for Toronto and Boston in the chat.
Where's Austin? He's taking too long to vote.
It's another Toronto vote. Wait for one more vote to come in. Austin, unfortunately, what is not a team? It's either Toronto or Boston. Okay, Toronto. There we go.
3-1, 4-1.
All right. So interesting that the chat followed the same line of thinking you did, and
They don't want to
agreeing
get
that there's a split, but thinking that Toronto's going to win the Friday match. All right. So final pick of the day. We've got a rematch again of Colorado and LA. So chat, get your votes in. Tony, I have a feeling I know what you're going to pick.
Guy gets 6 points.
Yeah, we've got Colorado coming in. Couple votes for LA here. 5-2 right now. Oh, 5-3. Or no, 5-2. Tidge already voted.
Yeah,
Tidge already voted. So
LA not going 0-4. I don't know. That wouldn't be nuts for them.
Yeah,
They
we
went
we
4-8.
have predicted them going 0-4 this week, but this is probably the worst possible week for them. They're playing the first seed twice, then they're playing the second and third seed as well. So this is about as hard as it gets for them.
Bad reasoning kill. If Dial's cherry picking the offensive zone for 12 minutes, that's 12 goals
Yeah, kill
against these
kill.
guys.
What you're not understanding is that it's not going to be for only 12 minutes. It'll be for 15.
Yeah, why is he coming back so much in this game?
Probably because Marchie's going to keep fucking going up the whole game.
It's okay, Guy will be back there.
Fucking Marchie.
Use
Anyway,
Guy in the LA games.
okay,
Guarantee
so
wins.
this does it for our predictions for the week. So lock
Ugh.
it in. Hopefully, I'll be able to get back to 500, but that'll require me going 6-2 at worst this week. So Toronto, New Jersey, Boston, and Seattle, those 4 teams, you need to win all your games that I predicted you to win, please. And thank you. Very important. All right. So with that, let's very quickly run through some of the Sunday night hockey stuff, and then we will pack it up for today. I know we're already over 2 hours, which seems to keep happening. Try to get this down below 2 hours, but we'll see. Austin with the classic chat spam. Oh, I missed that, dude. That was so funny.
Yeah.
Was it Omaha
First
that
time I ever
started
saw
that
that
back
I
in
think that was
back in the
Omaha.
day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that shit was funny as hell.
The
Okay.
first time I saw it, it blew my mind.
It was like during the playoffs or something one
It was
season,
something
right?
crazy. Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll get my stream to partner soon, and then I'll add the same emote to my chat, so you guys can just sub to me instead, and then you'll get HQM net dial, or maybe I'll just do dial. That'll be the emote. All right, so for Sunday Night Hockey, we got through a second night of games, and there is another set of games tonight, so feel free to check those out starting at 7:30. But Manitoba still maintaining the lead. Manitoba is Payne's team, featuring Jeet as the primary scorer alongside of him.
Well, it's a pain. Payne after
That's why I
2
said
weeks,
alongside of him, yeah.
best player in the league, Payne Maxey, who is on my
Manitoba
team, not getting his chance.
Manitoba's in first
Bear.
place with a 3-1 record. Then Scranton currently, I believe, has the tiebreaker. They're 2-2 with 5 points. San Diego is 1-3, but also has 5 points on the season, so they are staying neck and neck. The two of them have been trading games off of each other. The big surprise so far, or at least this past week, was Manitoba losing their game against Scranton. They just were
Sad.
coming off of a 6-0 mercy of San Diego and ended up losing 3-2 to Manitoba. I've heard that all of the backups played in that game. That's what I was told
Yeah.
anyway. So I'm not sure how much that played into it, but it definitely seems to be the case. Payne, another big week for him. Same with Jeet, being able to put up good points and stay here at the top of the league. Para doing his best to sort of keep San Diego in this as they're in last place currently, but again with the tie, I believe all 3 teams make the playoffs. I think the first team has a bye, and then second and third play each other, and then they play first in the finals. Austin can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe that's how the playoff structure is set up currently. So. Uh, but yeah, it looks like Manitoba is currently running away with first seed, which is not too surprising. I think most people agreed that they had at least the deepest roster after the draft was over, having the likes of Ghost, Gregors, Doc, Cavi, Jeet, Slugger, and Payne. You've got a lot of veterans on that team, and you've also got some names there in the backups that a lot of people probably haven't heard from in a while, but you've got the likes of Cook and Iskin as well to add to that depth. So they definitely, in my opinion, have the deepest team top to bottom anyway. So not too surprising to see them kicking it off. So, but anyway,
Oh
yeah,
God.
your top performers, just to run through them real quick. You've got Jeet and Payne at the top, both with 8 points. Looks like Payne benched himself for one game, so he has the higher points per game. But Jeet is leading the league in goals with 7. Payne is 3 goals, 5 assists. They also have Gregors on their team at 5 points. He's third. Uh, and then the fourth player in the league in scoring, I think he's technically third on the tiebreaker here, is Para, who has 5 goals, 0 assists for San Diego. And then the fifth player is actually Ghost with 4
Also
points
in
at
Manitoba.
2 and 2. Yes, he's also in Manitoba. So 4 of the top 5 scorers are on Manitoba, and San Diego has the other lone one being Para. So Scranton having a little bit of trouble putting some goals out, but they at least have a more even set of scoring across the team. Most players have at least 1 goal already, so they've got a pretty well balanced attack. Whereas San Diego seems to be pretty much para or nothing,
Yeah.
feast or famine there. Either
And
para
and
scores the
Para has a
goals
worse points
or
per game than all 4 skaters on
on
Manitoba.
Manitoba. Yeah,
Oh my god.
Manitoba's they're
I would have
running
guessed
away with it
Manitoba was the
here.
best, but yeah, they're looking way better than all the other teams.
The one thing I will point out though is they seem to have the worst goaltending situation at only a 50% save rate for Cavi and a 46% save rate for the team, whereas the other teams are both 56% and 61% respectively. So goaltending could potentially pose an issue for them if that doesn't improve a little bit. That could certainly be something that sort of haunts them in the playoffs. If they get down early in games, might be a little tough to see how well they respond to that, as a lot of their games so far they've been able to put up goals early and stay on top. And when you come out to a lead, it's a lot easier to hold it than it is to fall behind early by 2 goals or something and have to claw your way back in. So be interesting to see how things shape up there. And maybe I think next week will be the halfway point for the LHL, roughly. So we'll be doing a sort of half point retrospective and looking at sort of how the teams looked at the start of the season and how they looked at the end of the season. Once we get to about the halfway point of the Sunday Night League, which will be 2 weeks from now, we'll do something similar. We'll spend a little bit more time on them and go a little bit more in depth for them and spend more like a half hour on the Sunday Night League rather than just the sort of 10-minute run through that we do on these weekly episodes. So maybe we can get somebody on who can chat a little bit about it. We'll get like Payne or somebody like that to speak to it, maybe Para. So anyway, with that, we will end it here for today, unless you have any other closing thoughts, Tony.
I don't know. Somebody do something cool. Big game, big goal, big trade, something. Make something interesting, something we can poke at, talk about. So I'm getting sick of this. Getting sick of this stagnant league.
Lack of news, yeah. You know
Yeah,
what I,
like
I would
where's all the
also like to
news?
see?
Where's fucking Peter Lisen when you need him? You know,
You know what I would
that's what I
also
want.
like to see? I'd like to see some things that maybe some other people could produce, because I'd like to not have to produce all the content myself. But like
Yeah, we don't have any shit
some
posts. We don't.
highlights
Yeah.
from the week would be cool. I'd love to show those at the start of each episode when we're going through the previous season. Maybe highlights from like a specific game, like one of the more exciting games, or just general highlights of the week. That would be a lot of fun. I'd also like to see maybe if somebody would break down like here are the top performers in the LHL from this past week. That'd be something cool to see. Take a look at players like KP who had a big week this last week and be able to highlight that rather than just the players we see at the top of the scoreboard, because week to week those things change, and it'd be cool to look at let's say like you, for example, how you did, Tony, last week as a pure forward versus this week now playing defense. So it'd be cool to look at little things like that. So if anybody
Well, my
wants to
points
start,
per game went way up, so
true. If
I'm
anybody wants
putting
to
up more
start
points.
If anybody wants to start producing other content, I can promise you we will highlight it on this broadcast. I'd love to bring more into that. So anyway, all right, we'll call it there. Good stuff today, guys. Chat, thank you for being engaged with the predictions. We might be able to work that into the predictions formally in the future. I think it's fun to get some opinions for stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, sorry for not having this last night. I apologize for the delay, but thank you for
I
bearing
don't
with
know
us
how.
and sticking through it today. Thank you for everybody who's here and watches this regularly. You guys make it a lot of fun for both Tony and I. Tony
Oh,
especially loves this.
yeah, I
Um,
love it. I got one more prediction. Austin's right there. He says Marchie gets in another car crash, has to sell his PC to compensate his mom for his third totaled car. Cap gets an injury, smashing his controller, busting his hand playing NHL, but he's forgot about the third one. His guy starts aliasing as Marchie and just finishes the season.
oh,
There's
true.
my
Yep.
prediction.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then we're all in big trouble because guy, he's not done
Austin.
yet.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you guys on Saturday. Plan will be 8 p.m. again, like usual. I will let you guys know, hopefully a little bit farther in advance this time if we have to back it out. But the guest is locked in already for next Saturday, so we will see you guys then.
Yeah.